The Trump administration is using the shutdown to fire a chunk of the federal workforce.
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands. It's a very good question, and that's something that the Office of Management and Budget and the entire team at the White House here, again, is unfortunately having to work on today.
We believe that it's completely illegal, and that's why we filed a lawsuit against these type of actions.
Well, I mean, this could be sort of like Doge 2.0, slashing and burning their way through the federal workforce. This time around, the administration could use this shutdown as an opportunity to pull back funding from certain programs that they don't like.
Is he trolling the Democrats? Yes. Yes, because that's what President Trump does.
But experts say this won't fix the country's financial issues.
The big problem we have hanging over the government is that we're going to go broke. I mean, you can't keep doing this.
CNBC spoke with an author of Project 2025 about why the government is targeting federal workers in this shutdown. The federal government employs about 2.9 million people. A large portion of them are off the job during the shutdown.
Under OMB's own plan, about 23% of federal employees will be furloughed if shutdown continues to happen.
About 154,000 federal employees took the buyout offered by the Trump administration earlier this year.
Morale is probably the lowest it's ever been in the federal government.
Conservatives have felt for a long time that the federal government is too big and too bloated and too expensive. Our tax dollars are going to a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. And they've wanted to streamline the government, both from sort of a philosophical approach, which is that the government is too big and is a drain on the private sector, and also from a practical approach, which is that they feel that they can't execute in the private sector because of all these regulations and things that the government imposes that are slowing them down.
I don't think it's unreasonable for the president to use all the levers, because they're asking for $1.5 trillion increase in spending. They want to put this inflationary impulse into President Trump's already strong economy.
Most of the US federal government is on so-called autopilot, mandatory spending that revolves around programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and many other benefit programs that make up the bulk, more than 3/4 of federal spending. These programs grow faster than the economy. If the Democrats get their way, it won't make healthcare less expensive, but it will make it more expensive. Those costs will be mostly hidden because they will be picked up by federal taxpayers, or rather future generations. The Republican reconciliation bill blew up the deficit by about $4 trillion over 10 years, almost 3 times what the Democrats are trying to ask for in this government shutdown right now. Part of those were tax cuts, which some analysts believe will actually produce more growth than if taxes had risen. But there were also a lot of tax expenditures that legislators should have gotten rid of. And there were new tax cuts that were unnecessary and basically just giveaways.
If there isn't anything clearer in the world, this system doesn't work. We're throwing all this money out that puts us in tremendous debt, and nobody's happy.
Shutdown fight isn't so much about cutting government spending in the sense of fixing the debt crisis as much as it is about political priorities. Conservatives have long lamented that the federal bureaucracy is primarily serving the ends of the Democratic Party. This administration is trying to change those dynamics and create more employment opportunities for conservatives.
This idea was foreshadowed in Project 2025.
Most of the federal employees are sound people. But no reasonable person, when you get to be a manager, is going to be firing a lot of people. The idea isn't per se to let them go. The idea is to try to make the system work. And it won't work if you can't rate people on how they do the work and be able to enforce it.
Many government workers are in unions that have stronger protections against firings.
That's exactly what Project 2025 was all about. It was about doing away with unions. It was about doing away with federal workers. But what the union do for them is just ensure, some checks and balances. Ensure that they are free from intimidation and retaliations.
The director of the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vogt, asked federal agencies to consider firing federal workers on furlough.
He's been in think tanks and Republican politics for a very long time now. He is one of the architects of what they called Project 2025. It was so controversial, actually, that President Trump on the campaign trail denied that he had anything to do with it.
For an example, see the ABC News presidential debate in 2024.
I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
Now that he is in power, he is threatening to use Project 2025 ideas and Russell Vogt personally to carry out some of these eliminations of democratically favored projects. And why is that? That's to put leverage on the Democrats on Capitol Hill to force them to come to the table on the government shutdown.
And it's sad that, Project 2025 tries to recast public servants as faceless bureaucrats. These are patriotic employees that simply want to provide a service for the American people.
And what we're seeing now is that this shutdown in particular is empowering the Republican majority. And in fact, some Republican members of Congress are now getting nervous about the tremendous discretion and leverage that the Office of Management and Budget and the White House seem to be employing to impose maximum pain on Democrats in order to bring them to the negotiating table.
I mean, what an opportunity this is. The Democrats just walk in with their chin sticking out. They're making people who, by their own definition, are not essential, open to being fired. I can't understand. Those aren't the Democrats I used to know. I mean, that's walking into a sucker punch.